sponsors.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. This is Joshua Salaam. I'm so happy that you guys, some of you at least, are enjoying the show. What show am I talking about? Think About It. That is a show where during the month of Ramadan, we're just kind of reflecting on different things about the Quran, about Ramadan, about life in general. And so happy that you could join me. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to be right back. I got a special guest and some interesting things to talk to you about. So Penny Appeal is going to help bring me back in a few seconds. Be right there. All right, sisters and brothers, brothers and sisters, you have come back to Think About It with Joshua Salaam. And again, we have a lot of stuff going on in the studio here. We got some construction going on. We're trying to do some amazing things. Thank you for all your support and your donations. Please continue to give at Deen.tv. There should be a donate button there that you can check on. If you have any suggestions, any ideas, you can email us at info@Deen.tv. And want to thank our sponsors, Penny Appeal, for bringing the show to you. And yes, I'm going to wear this shirt for the rest of the show. I mean, I will wash it, and there's a couple other shirts that I can change into. Don't think it's all like that. But you will be seeing this logo so that we can support our sponsors and and we can thank you for supporting us. So I want to tell you a story. I like stories about a trip to Indonesia. And we were on stage, kind of a stage like this, and they had set up, and when I say we, I'm talking about native Deen. So this is Abdul Malik, myself, Naeem. I think we even had some of the back line there, some of the musicians. So the Tariq Snare was there, maybe the Thwaites brothers were there. And they had a green carpet on our left and then a walkway and a green carpet on our right, right? So anywhere in America, any masjid in America, if a room was set up like that with a carpet on the left and a carpet on the right for a mixed event, whoever sat, if there were some brothers that would sit down on this carpet, then the first sister that would come in would sit on that carpet, right? That's just how we would do in America at most masjids. And then in Indonesia, at this particular event, so I'm not speaking for all of Indonesia, but I'm just telling you what I saw in a majority Muslim country. I think Indonesia is about 95, 98% Muslim, right? Brothers and sisters came into the room, and they all filled up the carpet on their right. So it was my left, but on their right. They filled up the carpet on the right. They were sitting down on the carpet. And then when that carpet was filled up, they moved over and filled up the carpet on the left. And I was sitting on stage looking at this like, whoa, this is different. And I just remember like thinking, this is not what would happen in the States, you know. And they were just very comfortable with their Islam. The sisters were in headscarf. The brothers were, you know, everybody was Muslim, and they were just comfortable sitting there on the carpet together and then sitting on that carpet together. And I realized at that moment, I mean, not at that moment, but it kind of reminded me that a lot of the Islam that we practice in America is stricter than a lot of Islam that you see when you travel around the world. Maybe other than, except for Saudi Arabia and some places like that. But you go to many of the African countries, you go to Indonesia or Malaysia, you go to, you know, a lot of Muslim countries, and oftentimes you feel just a different comfort level people have with their Islam. And when I reflect on why that is or how that came to be, I think a lot of it has to do with the clash of cultures in America, right? So you have people from Saudi here, you have people from Iraq, you have people from Somalia, you have people from Indonesia, you have people from, you know, you name it. they have come here, China, Australia, they have all come here in America, and we're all bringing our Islam. And then early on, there was a lot of free books that were given out from one particular, I would say, opinion about Islam. There was a lot of free books, and when you read those books, it was kind of like more strict stuff. You know, I remember myself growing up in a youth camp. Should I say it? Yeah. No, I won't say it. I was growing up in a youth camp, and this is what we were taught: that if a sister, these are true stories, man. If a sister was sitting in this chair, and then she got up to leave, I wasn't allowed to sit in that same chair. At least for a while, I had to wait for her sister vibes to go away or something like that. I don't know. And that's what we were taught. And I remember, like, if a sister was drinking from a soda can, and then if she asked you if you wanted any, we were taught, no, you can't be drinking after sisters. I mean, this is what we were taught. Now, of course, this was like 30 years ago, 33 years ago or something like that. But this was the type of Islam that we were learning. And then when I got to travel, I just found that, you know, people weren't so hung up on the minor details, or maybe some people consider them major, as I was, especially when it related to music. So me being brought up, I struggled a lot with my musical inclinations, right? Because I was always hearing that music was haram, music was forbidden, to stay away from it. And so when I started rapping, when we formed Native Deen, we decided to do it all with no wind or string instruments. It was going to be all percussion only, either, you know, something that you could hit, because we were taught that that was the only thing that was allowed, right? And so even as we started making more and more music, I was like really struggling with it. I was like, man, I don't know, it doesn't make sense, but I don't want to offend Allah. I don't want to, you know, be doing something that the Prophet wouldn't approve of, and really struggle with this, as did many other people. So if you know the story of Yusuf Islam, formerly known as Cat Stevens, when he accepted Islam, he was embraced by that same group that I'm talking about, that kind of made it clear to him that what he was doing was completely forbidden, not just his content, but just the music in general. And it was an easy argument for him, because he had saw the evil side of music. He had saw, like, all the, as they call the sex, the drugs, the rock and roll that came with music, and the drug abuse and the inappropriate relations between the genders. He had saw all of that. And so when he's looking for spirituality and somebody tells him that this is something you need to stay away from, he dropped it like a bad habit. He dropped it, and he disappeared from his career as a musician. And he used to be #1 in the pop charts in like the 60s. Cat Stevens, you can look him up. And he like disappeared, and all his fans were like, where did he go? Where's you know, Cat? That should be a book. Instead of Where's Waldo, it's like, where's Cat? Where did he go? And years later, I think it was 25 years later, he kind of had a full circle of, you know, now that he's been Muslim for a while, now that he's been able to hear other opinions about music, and he was able to sit with other scholars, he started saying, well, you know what? There's a rich tradition here, and it's in the history of Islamic civilization. And he just he wrote a long paper on it. You can find it online if you like. And he explained why he was coming back to music and coming back to it. And I think he even, because, you know, we met him a couple of times as Native Deen, I think he even had a little bit of remorse on the fans that he just left. And I think he wished he had did something different, where maybe he could have used his gift to guide all those fans to this way of life of submitting to God, and which is Islam. I'm just translating it for those who don't know what Islam and Muslim is. These are Arabic words which mean a person who has decided to submit themselves to God. And I think that he wished that he could have used his influence. Instead of talking about some of the stuff that he was talking about, he could have started singing about dhikr. He could have started singing about the remembrance of Allah. He could have started singing about forgiveness and, you know, all these things, which he ended up doing later. So, you know, he made a song for all of us A is for Allah, nothing but Allah. That is the beginning of, okay, half of the people out there said Bismillah. That is the beginning of Bismillah. That is for taqwa. You know, so he made that song and all of us were, you know, singing it and learning these Arabic alphabets, and he kept on going and he started doing some amazing songs. And then he came back on a tour and his fans were just like, yeah, they didn't care that he was no longer Cat Stevens, that he was now Yusuf Islam. They didn't care that he was, you know, singing about these really deep spiritual songs. And actually all of his songs in the past were kind of spiritual. But he started using this gift, or I should say, first he started changing his mindset, that this wasn't a curse, it was a gift. That Allah had blessed him with this ability to have a musical sense, to be able to sing, to be able to play instruments, or I should say, play stuff and make it musical instruments. Hold on, don't go nowhere. Here's a good example of stuff that became a musical instrument, right? So this is like some hollowed out fruit, you know. Maybe they were coconuts at one point in time or something like that, and these are just pieces of sticks, and then when you put it together with a little rope, it becomes an instrument, right? So this only became an instrument when somebody had the creative mind to hollow out some coconuts, put some sticks on it, and start playing it. And so what you'll find is I've brought a guest in today that understands this on a deeper level than I could ever understand it. And we're gonna talk to him a little bit about his journey, not only with music, but how he connects it to the Quran, and why he feels that these notes that he hears are really a way for him to learn the Quran, for him to engage the Quran, and he's just a very interesting brother. So I wanted to share that with you guys and have you guys think about it. Now, I'm not getting enough pushback. I'm not getting enough feedback from the listeners out there. I want you guys to really start emailing me at info@deen.tv. And in the subject line, you can put, think about it. You can even put exclamation point, like, think about this, Brother Joshua. What about this hadith? What about this Quranic ayah? What about all of these years of tradition that you're, you know, saying this or saying that? It doesn't have to be this show. It could be any show. But engage me and engage the show, engage this Deen. I believe that Islam is here to be engaged. It's here to be talked about. It's here. That's the only way that we can be an ummah. That's the only way that we can be a real community, a real family, is if we talk about stuff, because we're not always going to agree. If you think that unity is uniformity, I think you're wrong, personally. If you think that being a united community means that we all dress the same, that we all act the same, that we all think the same, I think you're wrong. I think we can be a united community and still be diverse in our thought, be diverse in our actions, to be diverse in our way of practicing this Deen, this way of life. People in Indonesia do not dress like people in Saudi Arabia. People in Saudi Arabia do not dress like people in China. People in China do not dress like people in America. And yet we all profess to be Muslim, and we all profess to be dressing modestly and wearing something that we consider to be tradition, and it looks different. I know when I see a Turkish woman because of the way that she wears her headscarf, right? I know when I see brothers from a certain country, depending on how they, like the people in Malaysia taught me one thing, how they tie their sarong, they tie it a certain way. You know, you can identify these things, and I would never wear the sarong here in America. It's not my culture. Here, my culture would be considered a skirt. Or maybe in my culture, sometimes the thobe. This is a true story. I was wearing a thobe. I think it was the last time I wore it. I was wearing a thobe in North Carolina. And I went into a store to visit this Muslim brother. He owned this store. And I was reading a paper. And a student came up. He was in the 5th grade. And I used to go into the school and teach 5th graders about saying no to drugs and alcohol, right? So this student knew me. And he comes up to me. And since I was, he knew me as a police officer. And now he sees me in this long thobe, all the way down to my ankles, just reading the paper. And he literally comes up to me and does this. He goes, Excuse me, officer, why are you wearing a dress? You know, I just, I shook his world. You know, he probably thought I was, I don't know. But he wasn't familiar with that attire. To him, this police officer that he knew in the daytime was at nighttime wearing a dress. And I said, you know what? Yeah, this is, it's not really my culture. It's starting to become familiar in American culture, but it's really, you know, it's different. And so I can dress as an American Muslim, as a Muslim in America, in my own outfits, in my own style, and tell people, you know, what Islam in America looks like. And so that's some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today on this show. It's just like this diverse opinions that we have in Islam, and we're not here to try to convince you of anything. We're just here to try to get you to think about it. And I'm going to invite my guest on after the break, and I want you to think about what he has to say, think about what he's doing and studying and playing in his life, and I think you'll enjoy it, inshallah. So this is Joshua Salaam with Think About It. I'm your host, and Penny Appeal is our sponsor, and we're coming right back after these messages. After these messages, we'll be right back.
The cycle of poverty is vicious. It traps families for generations, making it impossible to break free. We started Penny Appeal USA to break that cycle, to ensure that families are able to live their lives without the burden of the past weighing them down and preventing them from a brighter future. We have a multi-pronged approach. Solve the problems families are facing today while working on long-term sustainable solutions for their future. This Ramadan, join our mission to end cyclical poverty. Visit pennyappealusa.org/Ramadan and donate today. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome back to Think About It. I'm your host, Joshua Salaam, and as you know, I know, Penny Appeal is our sponsor, so we want to give shout-outs to Penny Appeal and thank you for all that you do for Deen.tv. Hey, as I said earlier, we have an amazing guest on the show. His name is Brother Mojib, and he is all the way here from Falls Church. Let's give it up for him. Thank you for coming, man.
Thank you for inviting.
So, your name is Mojib Ghaznawi?
That's right.
Did I say it right?
You said it perfectly.
And that last name comes from where?
Comes from Afghanistan, a province called Ghazni.
Okay.
My dad's from Afghanistan, and he tells me that I'm related to the first person to ever be called a sultan, Sultan Mahmud Ghaznawi.
Oh, okay.
According to my father, I've not fact-checked him yet.
You don't have to fact check Baba.
Exactly,
okay,
exactly. If milk is black,
right,
according to him, right?
So what's the thing you haven't checked?
So apparently he ruled half of Asia. I don't know exactly how big his kingdom was, his dominion, but the first ever sultan was Sultan Mahmud.
You might have some inheritance coming soon.
Maybe,
from somewhere.
Maybe some barakah. That's all I could ask for.
I invited you on the show because you have an interesting story.
Interesting.
Yeah, to say the least. you are. See, I brought Ismail on the first show. He opened it up for us. And for those who don't remember, Ismail is the executive director of Fawakir. And this is one of their students. And you're part of a program that comes in and does what? You're like a...
Yeah, so it's the first ever fellowship. So for 6 months, in the mornings 9 to 12, we have class intensively. We get one class worth, every day is a week's worth of class.
Wow.
So we're supposed to do the entire curriculum in 6 months, and then in the afternoons, we work for the nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I know they have 6 levels in Fawakir.
They do.
But what level would you say that you're at?
So I'm supposed to be at level 4. That's where the curriculum is.
Okay.
I'm a little behind on the review. But we are in about halfway through level 4A, that is.
And you feel like you're a strong level 3, but the curriculum's at level 4 and you're trying to catch up?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had a few absences with graduation and family flying in internationally, so...
Yeah, if you miss a day, that's like missing a week.
Exactly. So actually, you get kicked out of the program if you miss 3 dates within a level.
Really?
Yeah, so they're really strict. I mean, it's not them being strict, it's just if you miss 3 weeks worth of curriculum, you're kind of done yourself in there.
Okay, so this is going to be the first half. I'm going to ask you some more questions about your journey there. But you're also a musician, and
I try to be a musician. Yeah. So I got my little flute here.
Right.
This one has stuck around with me since the beginning of high school. I started in the 5th grade with just orchestra and elementary school band. I started on the cello because 4th grade you only start on strings, and 5th grade is when you pick a wind instrument. So I was always drawn to the flute. And it's such a beautiful sound. I can't really let go of it at this point. Yeah.
Okay. So for the first few minutes, I want to ask you some more about your journey through Fawakih and the Quranic program.
Thank you.
And then we're gonna have some fun stuff. Maybe
I'd love to.
We can do some stuff there. So, what would you say is been your most interesting as a student of Fawakih? What has been your most interesting like moment where you were like, oh my God, this is what I was looking for, or this door just opened up in the Quran, or something? You have any story like that you can share?
Definitely. I mean, not a specific story. It's kind of a relived experience. Every time with Salat and every Jummah prayer, every prayer in Jama'ah that's read out loud, I'm picking up stuff.
Wow.
And I was never able to do that. Maybe, I mean, I studied Arabic before Fawakih at the university level, but that's modern standard.
Right.
Maybe a few
different experience.
Completely different experience. I wanted the same thing that I wanted out of Fawakih. I just never got it with the university lectures. But
now for my studio audience, we have a lot of thunder going on, and you might hear like a bunch of sounds and things like that. There's some construction going on in the office, but have no fear. We are here to keep this show coming on.
Maybe some stomachs grumbling during
Ramadan. Oh, that's right, man. This is Ramadan. So you said something earlier that I felt was a nice bridge between your Quranic studies, and you have a love for that.
I love it. Yeah.
And your music.
Yeah.
And you said on a break, you said, you heard some tone, and you said, I wish I would, or maybe the role to be pitch perfect.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, pitch perfect is like you hear a note and you know exactly which note it is, right? So you hear E and you know that's it. You can call it. Or if somebody says, hey, can you sing in the note of A, you can sing it, But I think pitch perfect is just normally recognizing it, right?
It goes both ways.
It goes both ways?
Yeah. I mean, every sound you hear is a note. So it doesn't even have to be sung. It could just be the doorbell ringing, or like when you're flicking a piece of metal, it has its own ring to it. They can pick it up instantly.
So, all right, you heard that, ladies and gentlemen. He said, every sound you hear is a note. Even when I'm speaking in the key of something. I don't know what it is. And so that's very interesting, because a few shows ago, and if you didn't see it, rewind a little bit, I talked about how when people recite the Quran, they don't get trained in it, but good hafiz, good reciters of the Quran have this natural gift to be able to hit the right notes so that it sounds beautiful to you. And so you said that being able to do that starts at a young age, right? And then I was making a connection, and I wanted you to say it for our audience today. It's like the benefit in studying the Quran at a young age and hearing these notes so that it becomes like almost you become a pitch perfect child, and you know how to recite the Quran and where to drop and go up and where it goes flat, and that doesn't harmonize right, and so you try it again.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, what immediately came to mind is, I think it's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says that there's not a single prophet that came without a good voice, and that really one of the most beautiful things you could introduce a non-Muslim to Islam is just the recitation of the Quran.
Wow.
But starting at an early age, I mean, almost all, because like you said, the recitation of the Quran follows different scales. They're called maqams, or dasgha in Persian, or raga in the Indian or the South Asian context. But they follow melodic scales. You're not supposed to embellish them too melodiously. But there's a built-in scale that you can follow.
What do you mean by that? You're not supposed to embellish them too melodious.
So it's not supposed to be like a song. You're not supposed to like get on the top 40s charts with your Quranic recitation, right? It's supposed to be sacred, and it has its certain inherent beauty to it. But there are scales, and there are melodies, and there are notes. And what I've come to learn is that certain, like for example, certain adhan, certain calls to prayer happening, for example, at Fajr or at Dhuhr, have different scales that elicit different emotions. And so even when I spent 2 months in
you said something.
I did.
Yeah. Sorry. You said, so you went a layer even deeper.
Yeah.
Okay. you said that the scales can, so I'm just kind of piecing this all together in the show with you. Certain reciters would change up their style, generate certain emotions out of the listener.
Absolutely.
And that some of the maqam, and I've heard reciters say that, based on what the Quran is speaking about. So if it's more like garden and paradise and things like that, they recite in a certain style. And if it's more like strict warning and things like that, they recite harder. And you can kind of feel it. So not only is there notes that make it sound beautiful, but there's also a melody that makes you feel a certain emotion. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, if anyone's ever taken a class on music, they teach you, one of the first things they teach you is the difference between a major scale and a minor scale, or the harmony of major and minor. Major is happy, minor is sad. I mean, the power of music is really powerful. I mean, it dates back to even before language. You're able to convey certain things. With language, you have a filter, words in the mind filter, but music, it's heart to heart.
Wow, man, that is deep.
Yeah.
That is deep. Okay.
It's pure vibrations.
When I feel deep stuff, I feel like I have to like pause and say it again for the audience.
Sure.
What you just said was language gets filtered based on what you're thinking in your mind.
What you're trying to say.
What you're trying to say comes through words, but music is just like a straight emotional translation.
I mean, one of the most difficult things. Exactly. One of the most difficult things is trying to transmit feeling through a text message. That's why I try not to text my friends. I'd rather call them, because you could misinterpret the tone of a text because it's monotone. I mean, there's no tone actually. So with language, you're at a disadvantage. But when it's something an audio experience, it's completely different.
So now we're making another connection of the importance of understanding that the Quran is an oral revelation.
Yeah.
Right.
First and foremost,
it's not just the book that you're reading, the words, the way that it's recited, like where the shadda is at and where the elongated med is at. Possibly. Now, on the truth, I'm making all this up based on this conversation, but for me, it's starting to like make sense. Like, wow, yeah. So there's some. If you're just looking at the words of the Quran, there's that comes from Allah, Angel Jibreel, to the Prophet, to us. But when you're just listening to it, even the tones, even the style of the Quran is doing something, perhaps, in the communication.
Definitely. I mean, I've heard of stories where non-Muslims never heard the Quran before, and they just get into tears. They don't understand the language of Arabic, but there's something about that, the inherent artistic interpretation behind the recitation, because every recitation is different. Just like a jazz standard, the notes are there, but every time someone plays it, a band plays it, it's never been heard before, and it'll never be repeated again.
Wow.
Same thing with Quranic recitation.
So you and me are, I mean, you, first of all, you come across very educated in what you're doing. No, not astaghfirullah, man. Astaghfirullah if I'm lying, but I'm telling the truth. You're coming across as you've been. It's not like you just woke up and started thinking about this. This is something that you've been thinking about for a long time.
Yeah.
How do you what would you say to people that really get a discomfort as we bounce between talking about Quran and talking about music and maqam and melody and things like that?
Sure.
What would you say to somebody that really is getting uncomfortable with that blending?
Yeah, I mean, music, I think is central to Islam. I feel like what better way to introduce a person to Islam rather than handing them any book of a renowned scholar, instead of just pointing them to mosaics or the architecture of a masjid or calligraphy. All those are art forms. I think music has its own respect in art form. There would be no Quranic recitation without music. It sounds blasphemous to say, but at its core, there are melodies that are organized in time, and that's exactly what music is.
And we tried to explain it in another show, and I think Naeem Muhammad was doing it.
Wow.
That he's like, and you kind of said it very clearly, that every note, every word that we speak, every sound, you said every sound is a note.
Yep.
And so when you kind of organize these notes and try to make them sound beautiful, as most Quranic reciters do, that is the study of music.
Yep.
But I think because of this this thing about music, these strong opinions that music is forbidden and things like that, people get real uncomfortable even mentioning the concept of music with Quran. but for those who study it as a language, and it is a language, that it makes perfect sense. And perhaps one day there will be a Quranic teacher that is trying to teach a student and saying, no, you're flat.
Wow.
You know, you need to,
but
right now they don't. You just have to get it as a student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the traditional system of teaching any music, is that only recently have things been written down. I mean, everything before, I think the past 200, 300 years, musically was always transmitted ear to ear. There was never anything written down.
Right.
I had a thought that I wanted to mention. Oh, I can see why some people would call music forbidden. I think that's a really strong word, unless it explicitly says so in the Quran. I don't think someone has the power, or the hadith that have been. You can't really say something is forbidden unless it's explicitly so. But I see their point where it could be a distraction, especially with today's music that's trash, filled with the same repetitive meter, the same like 4 chords, the same kind of mentality through the lyrics. That could be a huge distraction. But for me, music has always brought me closer to the beloved. And so for me, music has always been a form of worship. Not it can't replace salah, obviously, but if salah is what brings you closer to God, music
for you, it is a form of dhikr.
Absolutely.
It is something that reminds you about Allah as opposed to taking you away from Allah.
Everything is vibrations. I mean, the heartbeat is a vibration. Each individual cell vibrates. The heartbeat of your mother is the first music that you hear in this life, right?
Man, who are you? This guy, you know, what part of Afghanistan you come from again?
I was born and raised here. My dad's from Ghazni, my mom's from Russia.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. She's from Kavrov, Russia, which is about a 6-hour train ride.
So those are 2 great empires. That DNA is just coming in and giving all that to you. That's powerful stuff. The heartbeat of your mother is the first music that you hear.
And the best music.
And the best music.
Absolutely. What's better than a mother's heartbeat?
Nothing. And well, you know, okay, now I'm stuck.
Right?
I was about to try to.
You better call your mama tonight.
I was about to say something scriptural or whatever. So I tell you what we're going to do is we're going to come back with a little gift for the audience. After the break, we're going to listen to Mojib on the flute, and I'm going to try to freestyle if you promise to come back. All right? So tune in to think about it. This is Joshua Salaam, your host. I'm here with Mojib and Penny Appeal, bringing it all together. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum.
Penny Appeal USA is really just an idea that manifested itself into an organization. We wanted to spearhead the next generation of humanitarian organizations to focus on true sustainability, transparency, and innovation. And though we're only a year old, we think we're well on our way to accomplishing that. People told us that what we were doing would never work. Put computers in low-income school districts? No one's going to support that. Develop an app that places social services at the fingertips of refugees, undocumented immigrants, and working-class families? You guys are crazy. And perhaps we were, but at each point, we knew that our supporters, folks like you, would be there. Whether you've supported us in the past or not, we hope you'll join us on our mission to end cyclical poverty, one sustainable program at a time.
Assalamu alaikum. You are back for one of the most exciting shows of Think About It that has happened. And I'm here with Brother Mojib for our next segment, which is where we, do our kind of light-hearted piece. He's already kind of told you about how he feels music is really part of creation, not just like society, but it's part of how a baby's created. He talks about the vibrations, and if you start talking about that, there's sounds in space, there's sounds in the water, there's sounds everywhere. So he brought this piece of metal here, this instrument called a flute, that he's gonna make some vibrations with to show you what he does. So I'm gonna turn it over to you for a little bit so you can introduce the instrument, you can introduce how you got into it, and then let's have some fun with it.
Sure, so this is the Western flute used in Western orchestras. It's different than the flutes of the East that are usually just a reed that have been cut and drilled holes or burned holes actually into them. The difference is that they have all these keys, and the listeners can hear that those could get a little bit annoying when you're recording.
You kind of making music right there.
So it could be a drum too. Yeah, right? So I started this in the 5th grade when elementary schools, my elementary school allowed wind instruments. And
Why the flute? Out of all those instruments on the wall, why the flute?
Out of all the instruments, well, I heard my brother playing saxophone. He's 7 years older than me, so he started on saxophone. I was just always drawn to flute. I loved the sound of it. It was very pure sound. It wasn't none of its sound was altered. I felt like a sort of like an angelic quality to it.
Yes.
Maybe that's my Afghan side with Rumi having lots of poems on the flutes. And I didn't understand those until I got into college. And so I kept up with flute until college. That is Western classical training, orchestra, band. I got to GW and I found the jazz department was much more exciting than the classical department.
You played in the jazz department at George Washington University?
I did for 4 years, yeah. I started with the Latin band and then I went into jazz combos, did a little bit of singing too, because we all got the best instrument right there.
Mashallah.
Yeah, right?
He's right. The voice, for those who study voice, is called a musical instrument. It's one of your best instruments, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I stuck with this. I grew up in a musical family, so music has always been a part of my life and will always be part of my life. Like we said, music is in its own a very powerful dhikr to remember the primordial vibrations we heard upstairs.
Wow,
right. So with my cultural background, I tend to take a Western instrument and play Eastern sounds on it.
So I'm gonna let you do your thing.
Sure.
And then I wait for my cue. If you bring me in with like a beat or something,
something slow.
Something slow like before. Give me time to think.
Gotcha.
We're gonna have some fun.
Gotcha.
Hey, for those who follow the opinion that music is forbidden, I ask you to turn off your screen right now. For those who don't and you would like to hear Brother Mojib do something which he's telling you this is what. One of the many things that brings him closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, check it out. Oh, yeah. What y'all know about that, y'all? Yeah, we up in the studio, you know what I'm saying? Hey, it's 2018, I'm living a dream with Mojib. Right on the street, right on the screen. Coming at you now, check it out. Hey, name is Josh, I'm on Deen TV. And I'm looking at the screen and all y'all looking back at me. But what am I gonna do when I'm running out of time? I just get out my sheets, take a pen and start writing a rhyme. So what I'm saying, dropping a dime on this religion of Islam. And I'm trying to get that revelation when I be reading the Quran. And this is like all freestyle coming off the top of my mind. And I'm trying to get like you and trying to come up from behind. And I don't be like sneaky and all of that. I'm coming in straight at you with the facts. Ain't no facts about NBC talking to me. I'm like in my prayer, trying to be on my Deen, trying to be up front, but I ain't really trying to be seen. I'm trying to keep it on the soft and work on my khushu. And you know what I do? I be in the bathroom making wudu. Hey, Mojib, he got that fat beat, you know what I mean? I don't even know what to say. I'm just like on the screen and I'm like looking at the cameras and I'm looking at the stage and I be memorizing Quran and trying to turn the page until we get what we doing and we act like we act and we being good Muslims, whether you white or you black or you from Afghanistan or America, from Russia or Persia. I don't know what rhymes with Persia, so that's the end of the song. What'd you say?
Inertia.
Inertia. Oh, he's rhyming and everything. MashaAllah. Nice. That is tight. That is tight. Man, I wish I could rap better. I wish I could freestyle better. Wish I was like Mos Def up here. Hey, Mos Def, man, if you're watching this, you need to email us at info@deen.tv. I was about to give you my number, not on the camera. We'd like to have you on the show, man, so we can bring him back and you can do a better freestyle with us. That was nice, man.
Hey, thank you. Your words were adding to it, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I was messing up a lot.
I'm just the canvas. You're the paint.
You were like a poet, man. You didn't know. And so I think we have a little bit of time left. So we got to do this game.
All right, you guys tell me the rules.
It's tradition on this show.
Okay.
First rule, don't show me your words.
Gotcha.
Okay? Although I could have started rapping for another 6 minutes, man. We could have did some remixes of Native Deen songs and all that.
I'm always down. Next time.
Next time.
We gotta rehearse, right? Can't always be freestyle.
That's right. Life is a freestyle.
Exactly.
All right. So let's say that the word is camera. All right. I gotta try to get you to say camera.
Okay.
With one word. And so I might say like cannon. You know, and you'd be like cannon. And you're thinking I'm talking about a cannon that shoots out things.
Yeah.
And then you'll guess firepower or
Bach.
What?
Cannon?
Oh. So we don't do that. If the word is in English, don't say it in Arabic. Okay. If the word is Arabic, don't say it in English.
No, Bach, the composer, he wrote cannons.
Oh, Bach. You're on a different level, man. You're on a different level. All right, so that's the idea. So I go first,
sure,
because I'm more likely to win.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, inshallah. And that's
so is it one word charades? Is essentially it?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I never heard of that before, but that sounds right.
Okay.
That sounds right. Okay. Android.
Phone.
Yes. Cha-ching, the brothers next. I think you're probably gonna guess these before I even give you a word, man. You're like very spiritual, mashallah. All right, what you got? And the reason why I gave you the hat is so that you can put the words in there, so that I wouldn't see it. But that's okay.
Okay, you can't see it, right?
It looks good on you.
Okay.
But just make sure.
Sure.
All right, I'm ready.
Court.
Judge. Okay.
Oh, you only get one shot?
Yeah. Well, next time you come back to that same word.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to get you to say my words before you get me to say yours. And it's an honest game.
Yeah.
You can't be like messing up. All right. Cat.
Pet?
Okay. Nope.
Jury.
Jury. Court. Jury. Lawyer?
Close.
Okay. First word was
cat.
Cat. Second word was no, I didn't give you a second word yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Cheese.
Milk.
Okay, no.
Cat, cheese. Are they both milk related?
Cats
drink milk, you make cheese out of milk?
I was about to say.
I'm not milking cats. Don't worry.
That's what I'm thinking about. There's a scene from anyway, a movie. He was like, I milk a cat. Anyway. I'm glad you said cats drink milk. You know? I was like, what does cat have to do with milk?
I said court. I said jury.
Yeah.
Defendant.
Victim.
No.
Judge. Okay. Anyway. Trap.
Mouse.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
All
right. Let me get these. Court. Jury.
Uh-huh.
What was your third word?
Defendant.
Defendant. Okay.
Lawsuit.
Okay. Court, jury, defendant, lawsuit. I want to say a word, but I don't think it's right. I'm trying to think if I should waste my word. I want to say sue, like sue somebody.
You want to say that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that if I were you.
Okay, then I won't. I won't say that.
It's really close though. We're all dealing with like synonyms at this point.
Okay. Court, jury, lawsuit.
Not a lawsuit. I mean, kind of, but.
You didn't say
I didn't
lawsuit?
say that. Oh, did I? No, I said defendants.
You did say lawsuit.
I did say lawsuit. My bad.
Yeah. And defendant. Prosecutor.
No.
Man.
They're all characters in this one word.
They're all characters in this one word. Okay. All right. I think we've had this word before. That's okay. My producers are going to get this right and stop doing repeats. But let's say tradition.
Faith?
Okay. Nope.
No. So I've said defendant. I said jury. I said lawsuit.
Did I say lawyer yet?
You did.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's two words that I say, but it's the same idea, it's like a constitutional right. Could I say that?
You have to use one word unless it's a compound word. Like ice cream.
Okay.
Is ice cream a compound? I don't even know. Anyway.
I think it's a compound word because you can't really say one with.
Like lawsuit. You did lawsuit.
Yeah, but I think that's spelled together.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll leave out the first three-letter word and say process. And it has to do with the Constitution. But that's not the word, but that's.
Yeah, you're giving too many clues,
Am
man.
I? Okay.
Process. Civil.
No.
Oh. I think I know the word now.
I didn't hear it.
No. Criminal.
No, close.
Okay. Prophetic.
Hadith.
No.
Oh, man.
Close.
Because that's what a tradition is, usually how they translate it, usually, right?
Yeah.
Oh, but you said you can't use the translation.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I still got to use the same word.
Oh. Okay. All right. You're on the same word.
Yeah. Judge.
It's not criminal. It's not lawyer.
So I said judge, I said jury.
Executioner.
Whoa. Nope.
You know, judge, jury, executioner.
So you said tradition. You said prophetic. Okay.
Quran.
And it's not hadith because I said that last time. And tradition, prophetic.
You're going to kick yourself on this one. Say those 3 words again.
Quran, hadith, prophetic.
No, I didn't say hadith.
Oh, I said hadith.
Yeah.
Quran, tradition, prophetic. Islam?
Nope. Nope.
Too easy.
Yeah, your turn. I think our timer's going off.
Oh, is that your
Okay.
timer?
Yeah.
Should I move on to a different word, or is that breaking the rules?
Producers, are we out of time? Yeah. Okay. What is that word?
Trial!
Trial. Trial.
Oh, I should have said tribulations. Maybe that could have
Yeah, maybe I would have got it of tribulation. The word I was trying to get you to say was sunnah.
Sunnah! Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what are the other words that you had?
I didn't even get to any of the other ones. I was stuck on the
Clarinet.
first-
What would you say for clarinet?
I would have said Squidward. You watch SpongeBob? He plays the clarinet.
No.
Oh.
Okay. I guess that's a generation gap there. And what else you got?
I got scissors. I would have said paper cut for scissors.
Okay.
Juma.
Offender. Yeah. I had window and calculation.
Window calculation.
I don't know how I would have did calculation because I don't think I'm allowed to say calculator.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, man, it's been an honor, a pleasure. Inshallah. Hey, this brother's talented. Y'all need to remember the name. Mojib Ghaznawi.
Can I plug a Facebook page?
Yeah, please.
Read Society for the Sacred Arts. It's a nonprofit that I work for. We deal with Islamic calligraphy and Sufi music. So
Society for the Sacred Arts?
Reed Society. So you remember
Oh.
the reed as in the reed pen, and then
Oh,
the
so
reed
R-E-E-D.
flutes. R-E-E-D, Society for the Sacred Arts.
Okay.
We got some calligraphy events. We got some music concerts coming up soon.
Okay.
Got an Instagram. We got a Facebook. Working on the website.
You say it again just in case.
Reed Society for the Sacred Arts.
And check him out, Mojib Ghaznawi. He was here on Think About It with Joshua Salaam and our host, Penny Appeal. Assalamu alaikum. We'll see you next time.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you.
This Deen TV video was made possible in part by Penny Appeal USA, Small Change, Big Difference, and by Recycle Processes Incorporated.